Hello everyone and welcome back guys to another episode of my F1 2018 Williams Road to Glory career mode. And I must apologise, there was no footage from the Singapore Grand Prix, and honestly this should probably explain it. Yeah, it was an absolutely horrific race on the whole, and honestly there was just no point in uploading it, so hopefully you guys can understand that one. It was heavy rain, Singapore, the AIROP. I'm terrible. I was, a good 20 seconds down. I'm not even joking. I was, 20 seconds down inside 10 laps to, cars like the Haas. It was just no point, really, in doing that one. So very, very frustrating. But, we move on then to the Russian Grand Prix this time out. Ready here at Sochi. And looking forward to this one. Obviously, we've got rule changes coming in for Season 4 of the career mode. If you're new around here as well, and you haven't already, make sure you go to the community section of the channel and vote for where you'd like to see me go for Season 4. The poll will be open until the end of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, as well as obviously make sure you are subscribed for the hype around moving to a new team. But yeah, we're ready. But at the moment, we're sort of just obviously focusing on building up Williams ready for their new campaign in the 2021 season. Obviously, we're slowly but surely getting all the parts ready for next year for them. Obviously, we've got the powertrain and chassis changes coming to Formula 1, so obviously going to be really interesting to see how quick Williams will be moving on into next year. But yeah, the Russian Grand Prix, one that sometimes goes alright for me, one that the AI tend to be a little OP on as well, so it'll be interesting to see how we fare in this Grand Prix weekend. But yeah, obviously in terms of free practice then, the way we start every single Grand Prix weekend, a fairly simple showing overall, picking up the R&D points that we need. Obviously, all it is at the moment is I'll just be working behind the scenes. Just every time we earn points, it will just be going on the card, getting it ready for next year. Upgrades are varying between about sort of 300 and 800 R&D points as well. So obviously, quite interesting. We're actually starting to get quite a lot of upgrades. Well, upgrades hypothetically on the car, but obviously, really they are really just stopping it from being downgraded overall. So yeah, that's what's going on behind the scenes moving into Season 4. Hopefully you guys sort of understand that. There won't be really, well, there's no point in trying to develop more parts for the car that obviously won't work moving into a next season. So obviously, hopefully you guys do understand that one. But yeah, let's move on then into the Russian Grand Prix qualifying here. And I've got a little bit of an issue here at Russia, sadly. I'm going to leave you on board. Well, I'm going to commentate over my qualifying lap in Q3 because ultimately I said how the AI are a little bit OP. Hopefully you guys can sort of understand what I mean around here. So we're into Q3, nothing particularly surprising about that when we should always be making it into Q3 with by far and away the quickest car on the grid. And coming down in towards the final couple of corners, ready to start my final flying lap of the session here. See, we've got 40 seconds on the clock, that's not really too much of an issue. Maximum revs, 5 ERS deployment mode as well. And we're just going to go on board with this lap because to me, there's a couple of small errors on this lap, but it seems pretty decent to me, especially with how quick this Williams car is, how weak Lance Stroll tends to be as well in this career mode. This lap, I personally felt was quite good. Get a nice run through the first couple of corners there, through turn 3, almost approaching 200 miles an hour on the exit. Just ridiculous how quick this Williams car is. I know I say it all the time, but honestly, this second half of Season 3 with all the aero upgrades on it has been absolutely phenomenal. We're just over a 10th off Lance in the first sector. That seems fair enough if he's running a little less aero than myself. That seems about right. It's nothing too odd. Nail the next couple of corners there. Make a bit of a mistake through this one. Had to drop it down to third gear there, so probably lose myself a tiny bit of time there. And then coming down onto the back straight, they get a nice, good run out onto the back straight there. Activate the DRS as soon as possible. Even bring the car down into overtake mode for just a split second there to give myself a little bit more power. You can see we're now actually 300ths up as we come in towards the final sector of the lap. Get a nice run in through that chicane there, try to run the car nice and wide on the exit of the corner there. Brake nice and tightly in towards this next corner there. Don't get too caught out over the curves, and a good run on the exit down in towards the final couple of corners of this lap. Brake just after the black box there, through the second to last 90-degree right-hander, in through the final one now, and over the line. It is going to be P8 on the grid. Now that final sector, it seemed pretty good to me overall. I lost 7/10 of a second in that final sector. Now, personally, I think, overall, I'm a fairly quick driver on this game. Now, the coders have claimed this has been patched ages ago, and generally speaking, I found it has been. But things like that need to be fixed, and fixed desperately soon. How on earth you can lose 7/10 of a second there, you know, without any... Well, I didn't really think I made any mistakes there whatsoever. And yeah, end up going from, well, a theoretical pole position coming into the final sector, all the way down to 8th place. I will never know. But yeah, that one very much frustrated me. Hopefully you guys can understand that as well. You can see Lance sets a 24-9 final sector. On his second run, he was near enough a second off that as well. So I'm not too sure if it's a glitch or what it was there. But yeah, we can only do a 25.6. But yeah, I think the less said about that, the better. I was pretty tilted after qualifying. But let's move on then into the Russian Grand Prix.
Welcome one and all to the Russian Grand Prix. We're just a stone's throw from the Georgian border here at Sochi as we get ready to begin the race that served up an absolute cracker back in 2015. A last lap collision between Kimi Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas sparked controversy in that race, so let's hope the racing is just as tight today. It's time to go racing then at the Sochi Autodrome, where the long run down to the heavy braking zone at turn 2 is one of 2 DRS zones around this 3.6-mile circuit. The other, of course, down into turn 13. 18 corners make up a lap here today, with an average speed somewhere in the region of 130 miles an hour. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk briefly about Lewis Hamilton. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
With that then, let's run through the grid order. A fantastic effort from Lance Stroll yesterday puts him on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Alonso, Perez, Kimi Raikkonen and Hamilton, Hülkenberg, the Professor, Bottas and Daniel Ricciardo, Rixon, Ocon, Charles Leclerc and Sainz, Hartley, Verstappen, Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen. Van Dorn and Pierre Gasly rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Right, let's be patient going into turn 1. We want to be in a good position for the rest of the race. Good luck.
So here we are then on the grid, ready for the Russian Grand Prix, and quite looking forward to this race, although we're a little bit further down the order than I would have liked there. We got the potential chance of rain right towards the very end of the race as well, so that could certainly add a little bit of spice towards the end of the day here. But yeah, starting a little bit further down the order, we're going to try and take a bit of a risky strategy, go for the one stop, but we're probably going to try and undercut the AI as well in the early stages. But here we are then on the grid, ready for the Russian Grand Prix. It is 5 lights here in Sochi, and it is lights out, and away we go. They're off to a fairly decent start on the whole. You can see we're not side by side with Nico Hülkenberg much more, but side by side with Valtteri Bottas behind me there. We're going to be going side by side all the way down in towards turn 1 here. You can just see the cars at the front of the field try to fan out, try to get any sort of space there. Lance, I think, is fighting with Sergio Perez through the first couple of corners. Bottas is just about able to keep the nose up the inside of myself here as we come through the long flowing 90-degree, well, 180-degree left-hander even, I should say, of turn 4 there. And now we're all over the back of Nico Hülkenberg as he's having a little bit of a ding-dong with Lewis Hamilton there. We could actually be replacing Hülkenberg at Renault next season. You know, the vote is looking very strong towards Renault so far here. But yeah, as we come through the next couple of corners all over the back of the Renault man here, and hopefully we can try and capitalise over these next couple of sectors here. You know, we've got the back straight coming up in just a moment. Hopefully we should be able to get a very good run on the Renault man here. Out onto the back straight. They take a little bit too much curb on the exit of the corner there, and that's going to cost me a little bit of time down this back straight here. Obviously, everyone with the slipstream, it does negate any sort of advantage that I was going to be able to gain there. We close up massively in towards this next couple of corners here. Through the chicane under the bridge we go there. See, we're now almost pushing Nico Hülkenberg through the final couple of corners of the lap here. And this was a little bit weird. I try to not really look down the inside, and Hülkenberg just sort of bails out and gives me the place. I mean, I'll certainly take it, but yeah, very, very strange overtake there. But that is us up 1 place on the opening lap of the Russian Grand Prix there. Ignore that bollard that I just completely walloped going through the final corner as well there. But yeah, an okay start to this race. On to lap 3 now, all over the back of Lewis Hamilton here, you see. And he hasn't had a particularly good season. He did actually end up winning the Singapore Grand Prix last time out in obviously horrific circumstances for myself there. So fair play to him. I think that is genuinely his first race victory of the season. So not particularly ideal for Mercedes. And once again, another driver that we could theoretically be replacing moving into next year. Obviously, if you guys do vote for Mercedes there. But look at that, just having to go for a bit of a lunge in towards the braking zone at the end of the back straight. They're side by side through the next chicane there. And are we going to be able to hook it up all the way around the outside, side by side once more into the next chicane here on the outside once more there. It moves to the inside. We hang him out to dry on the exit of the corner there. And that is now us up into P6 of the Russian Grand Prix here. So we are slowly but surely making our way up through the order. Not as considerable fast pace as we come to expect from myself in this career mode there. But one lap later, we're now all over the back of Kimi Räikkönen. But that Ferrari car, once again, very, very quick down the straight here. We're going to close up quite a bit in towards the braking zone once more here. We seem quite confident on the brakes, but lacking a little bit in terms of straight line speed relative to the AI. The way they seem to be able to pull at some of the corners, yeah, I just think is a little bit ridiculous. It's like the Hungary final sector. They just seem to be able to go for it, which is very, very frustrating to try and race against here. But coming through the final couple of corners of lap 4 here, we are trying to really focus on getting a good run here onto lap 5 of this race. Are we going to be able to get a particularly good run? We're going to use the overtake mode, use absolutely everything we possibly can in this car here. DRS is now activated as well, and we are now closing up to Kimi Räikkönen here, 220 miles an hour. He tries to go defensive, but we slot the car down the inside there. Beautifully positioned move, if I do say so myself, and that is us now up into P5 of the Grand Prix there. So Jeff in the background quite happy with that one as well. And next up on the old hit list will be Sebastian Vettel here to the end of lap 5 now. We might just try to do the same thing like we did to Kimi Räikkönen one lap ago. Focus on getting the drive out of the final corner here. Flick it up into hot lap mode all the way up until 7th gear and then drop it back down into overtake to give yourself maximum power at all potential possibilities here. Right, use the DRS as well. Once again, 221 miles an hour in towards someone. Seb, a very late move to try and defend from myself there. A little bit of a change in the braking zone, but luckily we were able to avoid that. We went a bit more committed to the inside, and that's us now up into P4 of the Grand Prix. But Seb's trying to swing it around the outside once more there. It'll move to the inside through the next corner. Are we going to be able to make this move stick? I don't think we are. Just look at the straight line speed of the Ferrari in towards the next corner there. We hang him into the inside there, giving himself a much worse run, and now we hold on to P4 of this race. And next up is Fernando Alonso, having a fantastic race so far, is the McLaren driver here. He's, well, as I said, McLaren have really had a woeful season so far, but clearly he's doing everything he needs to at this stage of the race, and by lap 8 we were really starting to struggle for pace here. So like I said at the start, we're going to try and go for a bit of a cheeky undercut on the AI here. Hopefully it does pay off. Quite a long pit lane around this Russian Grand Prix circuit as well, so quite unlikely that we'll end up in too much traffic here. So hopefully this can pay dividends as we come through the pit lane here. Are we going to be able to make this work? We hold the clutch, make sure we've got the revs counts nice and tidy, and that has been an okay pit stop. 1.9, that's been a very good pit stop on the whole there. I think that would actually be a record with the new tyres in Formula 1, but obviously I'm pretty certain we've probably had quicker ones at some point in this career mode there. Roman Grosjean actually follows me into the pit lane as well, but obviously he in the Haas car isn't really a threat in this race, especially considering the fact that he hasn't scored a single point so far this season. And honestly, with Toro Rosso's pace at the moment, it probably doesn't look like he's going to score one either as well there. I think it's only him and Van Dorn that haven't scored in this season still there. On one lap later though, you can see setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix here. So clearly this undercut does look to be paying off so far. They can see just how far at the road we already are from Sebastian Vettel here. So it could actually be quite close here in this race. Maybe we could make the undercut work here. All over the back now of Pierre Gasly just a couple of laps later, and breaking down in through the final couple of corners of this lap. Are we going to be able to make this work? You can see all the AI are in the pit lane here. Where is Lance Stroll going to appear in this Grand Prix? Current race leader, there he is in the pit lane. Are we going to be able to make this work? We've got the DRS, we've got the much better top speed, and yes we do. We make the undercut work there for about 5 seconds back. Go for the diviest of all dive bombs I think I've ever pulled off going in towards turn 1 there, but I just desperately wanted a car between myself and Lance Stroll there. But what a race there. We just had a couple of really quick laps, and yeah, we were just able to make the undercut work there. Quite ridiculous the fact we were able to pull out, I think, about a good 4 or 5 seconds on my teammate there. The VSC now has been deployed as well, but really doesn't make too much of a difference at this stage of the day because everyone is either pit or isn't going to be able to pit under this window as well there. But yeah, 5 seconds we made up inside the space of, what, 3 laps there. So when you look at it that way, it doesn't sound as crazy, you know, considering how quick the AI have been around here. I honestly was just hoping that I'd be able to undercut and stay ahead of the Ferraris, in all honesty, in this race. But no, we've clearly made it work. We're now comfortably ahead of my teammate Lance Stroll here. And, well, we've got 15 laps to go of this race. We're back up into P6, the net lead of the Grand Prix. The VSC will be coming in on the end of this lap as well. And there we go, the VSC is now in once more. And now we've got a bit of a defensive drive ahead of me for the entirety of this race here in towards the final couple of corners. And I think pretty much all the rest of the AI will be diving in on the end of this lap. I think everyone in this race opted for a set of the Hypersoft tyres to kick this Grand Prix off. Russia isn't really a track where tyre deg comes into it, so obviously it's sensible you can go for the softest to middle tyre compound in this race very, very comfortably here. But yeah, now we've got 14 laps to go to try and defend from my teammate Lance Stroll. See, by lap 18 though, he was certainly close, but he just never really seemed to be able to pile on the pressure. It was a bit of a weird race where we were having to push, certainly, you know, there was no way we weren't having to push right the way through to the end of this race. Lance was still very, very quick here, but just look, you see, he gets the run down towards turn 1 here, but he never gets far enough in front, so we can just keep the nose on the inside there, and then he just bails out on the exit of the corner. So, I mean, it's working absolutely beautifully for myself here. Lance, I think, is going to try and go for it once more, and yeah, just backs out of it. So, very, very strange on the whole there. Lap 26 of the Grand Prix we go, and now finally the threat of rain has landed, but I think it's just going to be too little too late there. Look at this, Perez is now ahead of Lance Stroll as well there, so clearly I'm not too sure if he had like a mechanical issue or anything, and nothing came over the radio to say he had any issues in the car, so I'm not too sure what it was. But yeah, Lance Stroll clearly lacking the confidence to really fight with me in the second half of this Grand Prix. And yeah, a bit unfortunate the fact that it just was quite a quiet race at the end of the day once more. You know, I know some of you guys sometimes say, oh, I make mistakes deliberately, but clearly races like this just show I simply don't. I do race to win in this career mode here. 1 lap later, in through the final couple of corners of the race, the rain had now started to really start to fall, so we were having to be quite cautious through the final few corners. You can see fighting the rear end. Sergio Perez tried to mount a bit of a challenge on this final lap, but he's not going to be able to make it work there. But I think that's going to be the first time Perez is back on the podium in a long time there. But it's going to be the win in the Russian Grand Prix there. Another good race and then a pirouette over the line.
Nice work, that's P1. Race win. Well done.
It's a well-deserved victory for Williams then after that breathtaking Grand Prix. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
Well, when you overtake that many people, I'd certainly hope you'd win the race. Their car was really effective in the slipstream here today, and the team will be pleased that they didn't cook the engine, given how long they were spending in the hot air behind other cars. They had a lot of confidence to push their tyres hard as well, especially going into the corners, which allowed for some late braking and some exciting passes.
Here come our winning drivers then, out onto the podium at the end of a thrilling Grand Prix. The drama and excitement are over, and it's time to let it all sink in. Congratulations to our top 3 today.
So there we are then, guys, the end of the Russian Grand Prix. And yeah, just a bit of an apology that the second half of the race was a bit anticlimactic on the whole there, but it would be the win, 8 tenths clear of Sergio Perez at the line there. I think that's, well, the first time he's had a podium in a very long time in this career mode. There were Lance Stroll coming through for P3 there. Seb in 4th, jumps Fernando Alonso, who still takes home 10 points for McLaren. I'm sure they'll be very happy with that one. Hamilton 6th, Raikkonen ahead of Bottas, who finally gets himself back up into, well, it's not even a decent points paying position, but it's 4 points on the board. Ricciardo and Sainz round out the order there with Ocon, Ericsson, Pierre Gasly, Hartley, Van Dorn, K-Mag, Grosjean, Charles Leclerc, Verstappen rounding out the order there with Nico Hülkenberg, the only driver not to make it through to the end of that Grand Prix. No changes in the Drivers' World Championship from that result there, but now we've got a 61-point lead over Sebastian Vettel, so I will certainly take that one. Lance Stroll is still up in P3, but Sergio Perez has actually taken a few points out of him there. 166 points for the Force India man there, but 5 races to go of this season. It now just means myself, Seb, Perez, Lewis Hamilton, Lance Stroll, and Kimi Raikkonen are still within a shot of this World Championship. Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen are now both certainly out of the fight, and hopefully over these next few rounds we can just slowly but surely whittle it down to just myself within a shot by the end of the year there. But yeah, 25 points in the bag from the Russian Grand Prix. The only change in the constructors' standings would be Force India jumping Red Bull once more there. The battle between Red Bull, Force India and Mercedes actually getting very, very tight towards the end of this season. Less than 20 points in it between those 3 teams, so certainly one to watch between now and the end of the year. But there we are then, guys. That has been the Russian Grand Prix. Make sure you do like and subscribe if you're new around here and you want to see more of my F1 2018 Williams Road to Glory career mode. And hopefully I will see you guys next time for the Japanese Grand Prix.